Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Vaos, and a happy late New Year to you. I do apologize. I was meaning to get this video out during Happy New Year's Day, but unfortunately, I had a couple of technical problems, and I couldn't get it up and running. So right now, I'm narrating over my previous video. What am I doing here? Oh, okay, I've got the Jeep on the moon. Yay, got the Jeep on the moon. A lot of people were asking me to drive the Jeep on the moon. Now, I can't say Jeep. Unfortunately, I've been forewarned by some really good friends that Jeep is actually a trademark name. So it'd be like calling it a Honda or a Toyota or an Apple or IBM or whatever. And so to just, to not, tread over possible landmines, I'm going to go ahead and reclassify this vehicle as Jeep-like, but not a Jeep. It is a Dirt Cat. Yeah, I'm going to name it the Dirt Cat. Watch Dirt Cat be a freaking trademark name. Jeez. Anyway, so here's Dirt Cat Mark III. This is actually an updated version of the Mark II that I used in the previous video, where the poor little Kerbals ran into a little trouble with the tank at the very end, if you remember. This Mark II version is... oh, look at that. We got a base on the moon too. This Mark II version has a... well, you know what? I'll go over all the details later. But right now, we are on the moon. And yes, the base is on the moon. Now, if you see the structure on the left-hand side there, that's what the Jeep was transported in. I went ahead and instead of just losing the structure like some people would do, I went ahead and parked it right next to the actual outpost itself. So it acted like a little garage. And, yeah, whoa. Oh, okay. That's what I'm talking about. Good job, Kerman. That Jeep back there that's flipped over, that was actually the Mark IV. Yeah, the one I'm driving now is actually outdated. The Mark IV has newer interior. It's basically the Mark III, but it's just newer interior. It's got a whole bunch of gadgets and stuff like that. I tried to transport that thing via that garage structure that's over there. And unfortunately, we had a little bit of problems. There was some clipping involved. Not part clipping, but it's weird. It's like a part of the Jeep itself was, I don't know how, but it was attached to the garage part, the garage craft. And so when I jettisoned it, the part that was inside the Jeep stayed attached to the garage. It was the weirdest thing. And so the garage started flipping out of control. The poor Mark IV Dirt Cat started flipping out of control, and it fell down and exploded. There's some broken struts there and pieces inside broken. So yeah, it was bad juju. Anyway, but so let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, all of these craft were transported here via a very large rocket. And I will be sharing those rockets with you at the end of this video. Alright, let's go ahead and check out the quick evolution of the Dirt Cat. Now, if you can remember from way back when, I did a little video introducing this little guy. He is an old buzzard, that's for sure. Had the four little Kerbals that drove around the complex at night. Yeah, this is where the Dirt Cat originated from. This chassis right here. It's come a long way, that's for sure. This is the Mark I. Now this right here is the Mark II. This is the one that was inside the recent video where they ran into the tank at the very end. If you can see, it has, of course, obvious updates. It's got a roof. It's got a tire in the back. It's got kind of a squeezed back area right there. It's got more instruments inside of it. Just a couple of more instruments. Not a whole lot. Let's see, what else? That's about it. Other than the bumpers being removed. And this right here is the Mark III. Now, as you can see, it's a little more updated than the Mark III I was driving on the moon. But it's got a plate in the middle right there, so it can attach on to the little lander vehicles. It's got a communications dish right there. You probably wouldn't want to drive around with it open, but it's good for, like, if you're stationary and you want to contact base and base is too far away or whatnot. Also, in the very back, I don't know if you can tell, but I've situated the lights differently, so it's more like actual tail lights of the vehicle. The tire itself is propped up higher. It's no longer mounted on the side. It's got a little bit of part clipping going on, and you know what? I'm gonna ask you, ladies and gentlemen out there, what is true part clipping? Because I've been told that part clipping is when you activate the debug toolbar and hit that little button that says part clipping, and now you're part clipping. But I've been told that part clipping is when two parts merge into each other, regardless if the debug toolbar part clipping is selected or not. So it's kind of weird. I'm kind of confused. You know, I don't use part clipping in editor because I like a challenge, and I like it when it gives me the little red I don't think so thing going on. Then I have to think around the problem and make it work, which is more challenging for me. I think part clipping makes it way too easy, but you know, to each his own. But still, if I'm merging the parts together, then that means I'm part clipping, even though I don't have part clipping on. I don't know. I'm confused as hell, but yeah, it looks nice. It looks really nice though. Regardless, it looks really nice. I like it. Now the Mark III, I went ahead and I really liked it a lot, but for the moon, I needed a little bit more. So I went ahead and made the Mark IV. Now, right off the bat, you can see that little side-mounted engine right there. I tried to pretend that that's like a video camera, kind of like a police cruiser or some taxi cabs or even storm chasers would have in the front of their vehicle for like the moon and stuff. Kind of like the moon rover itself had video cameras. The interior is of course much different. You got cup holders, a little glove box right there, emergency brake. The screen is tilted a little further up. It's kind of messed up looking. You got the GPS further to the left hand side to make room for the camera. Yeah, there's a bunch of little updates involved. And also, where is the fire extinguisher? Right there on the very top. And now I tried to make it like it's clipped in there, so if you hit a bump or a crater, it's not going to fall down, hit you in the face. But it's a lot easier to get to. If there's a fire, you just reach up and grab it and pull it out, instead of having to find it on the bottom somewhere. But anyway, yeah, that is the newest version of the Dirt Cat and the Mark IV. Ladies and gentlemen, yay! And I will be attempting to get this one to the moon in one of these following episodes coming up. And okay, well, now I'm going to show you a little project that I'm working on. It's not a car-like or Jeep-like vehicle of any sorts. It's more like a scooter or motorcycle. And here we are. The Scooter Mark I. Now, it's a four-wheeled vehicle, I understand. I was trying to go for a two-wheeled vehicle, but it's a little trickier than it looks. So let's have Mr. Kerman here jump in here and give us a little demonstration. It's more like a ATV or something like that, and four-wheeled scooter-ish thing. So the radio antenna comes up. Very nice. And as you can see, it can reach up pretty good speeds, about 9.5, 10 if you're on a flat surface for long enough. Faster if you're going downhill, of course. You've got like a little radio, two-way communications or whatever up there with a GPS and a fire extinguisher on the side and some other gizmos. Front strobe light, and this craft does have a thermal generator, so it can travel well at night. Looks like a lot of part clipping going on, but like I said before, the part clipping button itself on debug toolbar was not activated. Boy, I'm completely confused about that part clipping thing. I'm sorry. It's kind of like, great, so how do I build my vehicles now without somebody saying, you're part clipping? I am not part clipping. Even though there's nothing wrong with part clipping, to each his own, but no, I don't like part clipping. It makes everything way too easy, and of course I've said that before. Anyway, I'm shutting up now. Yes, this vehicle is very maneuverable, so you have to have SAS on or else you will flip over. That's for sure. Now, I like this little vehicle because if I'm going to the moon or Duna and I have a smaller craft, I could find a nice little spot for this thing and travel around Duna or the moon. That would be perfect, actually. I could have like a couple of them stashed away in the spacecraft. Yeah, so that's what I was working on. This is the Mark 1. I'm gonna obviously be updating it one of these days. I like little craft like this, you know that? I like tiny little craft. It's challenging to make them tiny and cool looking at the same time. Very challenging, even though this one kind of looks like a little fucked up. But anyway. Now, right here you can see that I kind of missed the recording screen a little bit on the left-hand side there. I do apologize. But also, I'm going through the list of a whole bunch of stuff. I've got it, in the Spaceplane hangar. There's like tons of stuff. As you can see there, I'm pointing at the rocket car, Challenge Rocket Car, Challenge Ion Blue. I have not forgotten about the Ion engines from Minmus back to Kerbin, and the rocket car, of course, to go around the world, whether it be 20 minutes or 2 hours. Those are still in the process. Unfortunately, the rocket car I may have to throw my hat in for. It is very challenging to build a completely rocket vehicle to do like an SSTO thing and go around the world without using jet engines. But I go in there and I tweak it some more whenever I have the chance. But yeah. If you have challenges that I have not gotten to just yet, I do apologize. They are on my list, but it's gonna be a slow progress towards the end of the list. I've been getting thousands of, not thousands, but a whole lot of challenges. So I do apologize if I haven't mentioned your challenge just yet. But yeah, well, slowly but surely we'll get to them. Slowly but surely. As you can see, I'm going through this list right here. GV stands for ground vehicle. Got the Dirt Cat and the Dirt Cat Skyride that's right up there. That's how I got the Jeep-like vehicle onto the top of the VAB building to demonstrate the parachute capabilities. And we got trucks, we got lifters, we got fuel trucks, parachute trucks, polar trans vehicles, and the tanks. Yes. I'll give you a little treat at the end of this video about the tank. You might want to stay tuned for that. The XT800, of course, is the updated version, but we'll show you the Mk3 missile tank. GV old, these are old ground vehicles that I need to update. NAHC stands for non-air-hogging craft. I've actually started taking a liking to these kind of craft. They are SSTOs that don't use air-hogging technique in order to get into space. As a matter of fact, they don't even use ram air intakes or turbojet engines. It's just basic air intakes and basic jet engines to get into space. This is kind of how I got into space at the very beginning of my SSTO, I guess you could say, career. Until I start playing around with ram air intakes and going really, really fast and popping out of the atmosphere. And then I started experimenting with multiple ram air intakes or air hogging techniques. And of course, air hogging is frowned upon by some people. To each his own. It doesn't make it wrong or right. But yeah, I've kind of gone back in time with my roots, and from the lessons that I've learned, I've started to recreate these vehicles. And as you can see here, this vehicle here kind of has a longbow design. If you remember the longbow from my previous video, it's got the dual wings on bottom and top. And yeah, I put that there. Yeah, I know I missed. But as you can see, in the front of this craft is a escape pod of some sorts. It completely detaches from the craft, gets the hell out of there, and parachutes safely back to Kerbin. This vehicle can transport 2 passengers and 1 pilot into orbit. Now, I tried to make this craft look cooler because I always like making crafts that look good but are very functional at the same time. But you cannot put one more piece on this craft, or else you'll have a hell of a time trying to get into orbit. It is on the borderline of what it can carry into space, fuel wise and everything wise. So yeah, it's pushing the limits of this design. And here we go, we're taking off. Now I really like this craft because it kind of reminds me of an X-Wing from Star Wars, even though that's not the look I was going for. It just kind of happened that way. Look at that. Oh, that is sweet. I'm geeking out over that. That's pretty cool. Where's my lightsaber? Okay, so we're pulling it up. Easy on the stick there, Chief. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Okay, well, anyway. Moving on. Now, you want to get to about 22,000 meters before killing the jet engines and going over to rockets. As you can see here, I'm pushing it. It's leaning back and forth. There we go. Rocket engines are online. Jet engines are offline. Yeah, if they give up on you, it will spin out on you. So you gotta be very careful about that. Go to about 60 degrees and then straight into space so you can make your orbital burn. Alright, at 70,000 meters you want to kill the engines. As you can see, we still have plenty of fuel left in the fuel tanks. We've used up maybe 2/3 of our fuel, almost 2/3. But that's all we pretty much need to get into space. That 1/3, to get to orbit is that 1/3 of fuel that's still in there. And we still have a little bit more left over, surprisingly. Alright, let's go ahead and make the burn. Alright, as you can see, we're almost out of fuel, just pushing the apoapsis in front of us, trying to be behind the apoapsis and have it just in front of us as our perigee slowly grows. Amazingly, once you get to this point, you only need a pinch of fuel to get that perigee up and going. You don't need a whole lot. So we are in orbit now. Awesome. With still a good amount of fuel left over. And there it is. Yay, we made it into space. And this is the shuttle version of the non-air hogging crafts. Blah. I haven't got a name for it just yet. I'm thinking maybe the longbow. I don't know, not longbow, but something. I can't call it X-Wing because it's trademark. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Awesome. It's got the whole Millennium Falcon radar dish on the side going on. Oh crap, I can't call it Millennium Falcon. That's trademark too. Walking on landmines. Yes, sir. Alright, what else can I show you here? Now we will demonstrate the escape pod of this thing. So we're going to simulate a crash landing. We are out of liquid fuel, and we put all the oxidizer up in front to help stabilize the craft. This is why I don't empty out like what you do in normal SSTOs. You empty out some of the oxidizer so it can just be liquid fuel for the jet engines. You don't want to do that with this craft. You want oxidizer left over so you can throw it into the very front of the craft, making it stabilized. And there she is, gliding peacefully across the mountaintops. But unfortunately, we don't want peacefully. We want to go ahead and demonstrate this darn escape pod that's in the front. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make like we've got some serious technical problems. And yeah, I could probably land this thing on this kind of terrain. You can slow it down to almost 40 to 30 ms, have its nose up and glide really nicely. And as long as you have the brakes on, you could pretty much land it on top of a dime. But nope, let's go ahead and we're getting closer. Uh-oh, doesn't look good. Indiana Jones in there with his raft. About to jump off. Perfectly good aircraft and eject. There she goes. Parachutes. Beautiful. Uh-oh. Oh, that can't be good. Yeah. Now you notice a little command pod popped off there. The connections between those two different types of command pods are very weak. You've got to put a strut in there somewhere. I thought I put a strut in there. I guess I miscalculated or missed. Yeah, my bad. But anyway, if it's all in one solid piece, then it looks really cool. It looks kind of like something off of, I don't know, something off of Star Trek or something. But anyway, yeah. Passenger survived. Pilot survived. Successful mission. Operation recover. Now, as you can see here, I'm scrolling through the planes in the Spaceplane hangar, and you can see I have something called Spaceplane X1 and 2. I've already told you that I'm kind of interested in going back in time and finding out different old versions of how to get into space without using the air-hogging technique. Not saying that air-hogging is wrong, I'm just saying that I'm going kind of back in time, and here we are. The Spaceplane X1. I've been recently kind of geeking out over NASA. Yes, if any of you can relate to being kind of a NASA geek in your youth, that was me as a kid. I was the large glasses with the front buck teeth, the bottom tooth about to come out little kid who stared up at the model rocket with big white eyes and pretty much an awe expression. That was me as a kid. I was all about space and being an astronaut when I grew up. Didn't quite work out that way, but anyway, so yeah, here is the space plane. This is something that we could build with our current NASA technology, and as a matter of fact, the space shuttle was actually going to be a space plane strapped to a rocket pretty much, until they started fiddling with the design and put, of course, the two solid boosters on the side and just turned the rocket into a big giant fuel tank instead. Now, if you notice, the bottom half of this rocket has little winglets on them. This is to actually act as tail fins, because when the rocket launches, as so, it actually kind of travels upside down. The spaceplane itself will be upside down during the launch. This is to actually help in stabilization of the rocket itself, because those bottom winglets that are on the bottom of the rocket act like tail fins when it starts tilting over. As you can see, it kind of looks like tail fins with the wings, and that's exactly how it acts in the atmosphere. Now, once the rocket does its duty and gets the spaceplane into space, it will separate, and the spaceplane will flip over and get itself into orbit. Now, the cool thing about this particular craft is that you don't have to touch the ASWD keys at all anymore. Once you get positioned where you're slightly tilted towards the east, you just leave it alone, and you keep your fingers on the 3 key and the F key. The 3 key shuts down the back engines on the very bottom, shuts down the back engines on those 4 engines right there, and it shuts down the engine that's on the space plane that's stabilizing the craft. The reason for this is because the center of mass will start dropping as you burn fuel, and it will become harder and harder to stabilize the vehicle with that heavy space plane on the side. This is, of course, you can use this to your advantage by letting it tilt itself towards a 60-degree angle before turning off that engine and these two engines right here using the 3 key. The middle engines will be the only ones running, which will stabilize the craft. And it looks like it's just about there now. Oh, let's fast forward a little bit here. Alright, past 15,000 meters. There it goes all by itself. And there, oh, you can see I accidentally hit the 2 key as well as the 3 key. The 2 key initiates these little VTOL rockets that are on the side here. I was actually trying to make this thing go to the moon, and of course it didn't quite work out. But anyway, there you go. The 3 key is activated. The rockets in the middle are the only ones that are activated, and it's stabilizing the craft for now. As soon as it gets higher, we're gonna start having problems again. As you can see, I'm actually trying to tilt it back up to 60 degrees. I missed the point where you're supposed to snag 60 degrees, and I kind of went past that point, so that was my bad. And alright, so let's go to the next stage here. Past 45,000 meters, she'll start tilting on you again, and that's when you start throttling down. There you go, throttle down some more to about 45 degrees, then lock it with the F key. There you go, 45 degrees. So from 90 to 60 to 45 pretty much. And now you just let it burn until it runs out of fuel completely. This rocket, of course, was not meant to get you into orbit. It was meant to get you into space. The space plane itself will get itself into orbit. And now we're just about out. Yep, we're out. Go ahead and jettison the main rocket. And it falls peacefully away. Hit the 3 key to engage engines to just get the hell out of there. Now you gotta zoom out. And in this one, unfortunately, I try to make a maneuver node, but you really don't have time unless you're like uber quick. And even then, it's just a whole lot simpler to just make sure you burn in front of the apoapsis and keep your altitude up, you know, things like, you know, basic stuff to get into orbit. It's just easier to do that. Trying to get a maneuver node all set up and ready can take a little while, and in this case you don't have a whole lot of time, so accidentally I go way past the apoapsis before I'm able to make the burn, which is not smart. You can still get into space. I mean, you have plenty of fuel left over. You have almost a little less than half a tank of fuel left over once you get into space. And this craft can make it to the moon's orbit, but it doesn't have enough fuel to land on the moon, which is one of the reasons why I put those little VTOL rockets on the side, because that's what I was aiming for when I was making this vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this vehicle in orbit, and then we're going to switch back to our rocket that's falling down there, as you can see. Try to get to it before the computer deletes it. I think it's, I forget what altitude it has to be before the computer deletes it. 20,000 or something of that nature. So right here I'm hurrying up to get into orbit, so I can go ahead and switch back over to the rocket before she gets deleted. Alright, as you can see here, it's nice and level, re-entering the Kerbin atmosphere, and you have to keep an eye on the electricity. I'm going to have to redesign it with solar panels or more thermal generators, but those SAS units by themselves suck up a lot of electricity. Engage the drag chute. As you can see there, I kind of ran out of electricity. It's still making electricity, but the SAS is draining it dry pretty much, and have to, For some reason, when you run out of electricity, it's really hard to turn off the SAS. You literally have to spam the T key, F and T key, just kind of play around with it until it finally gives in order to regenerate electricity. Alright, 500 meters, and there they go. Now, if you can tell, I have got electricity back. That's because I managed to turn the SAS off and let it regenerate while it drifted down towards the ocean. I've got more parachutes in the back of this craft because it's heavier in the back. Yep, there you go, level it out. And underneath this rocket is a whole bunch of metal I-beams and steel plates to hopefully break its fall when it hits the water. As you all know, water is like lava. It likes to pop things very easily because the way the mechanics of the water works, it's just like the ground when it calculates impact. There's no, softer feature to it like actual water. I mean, if you're to jump 20 feet into water, it's a lot different. The impact's a lot different than if you jump 20 feet into the ground. Of course, yeah, that's obvious. But in KSP, water is ground. It gives way, but it's still ground. And, oh, it popped the top. Unfortunately, the impact tolerance of the rocket itself is like 6 ms, so yeah. Anyway, it works-ish. Okay, nearing the end of this video now. As you can see here, I'm in the VAB building looking at some of these other designs that I want to show you. And the Game Buster. Yeah. This design will crash your computer or your game every single time, but it looks cool while I was doing it. Anyway, payload old. Yeah, I try to categorize all my stuff so I know exactly where to look alphabetically. You got your X vehicles down there, and you got your rockets. So let's go ahead and show you the 2 rockets that I promised I'd show you in the very beginning of this video. The Luna base. Here we go. Oh yeah, she is a big one. Yes sir. It's got the whole nose cone thing going on, even though KSP doesn't calculate nose cone aerodynamics, but hey, we want to make it look somewhat realistic. There's the base, the one that you saw that was on the moon. The one that you saw that was on the moon is actually an outdated base. This is a newer update. The rocket itself, however, is the exact same one that got that one to the moon. The part count is about 1,300 parts, a little less than 1,300 parts. You have to be very careful when you're launching this thing. Only about 90% thrust at the beginning. There's a lot of struts there, as you can see, but they're all connected to different parts. It's not like I'm putting 5 struts from one fuel tank to another. It's just one strut, but yeah, every single strut has its different link to different parts to try to make it more durable, because from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, from what I understand, if you put 5 struts from one fuel tank to another, it only has the strength of that one strut. What you want is stability, and the only way to get that is to connect to other fuel tanks and to other winglets and structures and stuff of this nature. Just connecting a whole bunch to one item is not going to increase the strength of it any, because it's going to snap regardless. I guess it only calculates each strut individually and not as a whole, for some reason. I don't know. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I've come to understand it. So in order to make your craft super stable and as strong as possible, you want to go ahead and strut everything around the what you're trying to keep stable. You don't want to put like 1,000 struts on one end to the other. You want to put, I'm repeating myself, I know, blah, 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 blah. Okay, anyway, so there it is. Oh, no, you know what? I don't even want to count how many struts are on this thing. But it is stable as long as you're kind with it. Don't try to forcefully change its course in mid-flight or anything of this nature. Just let it fly. And here we are going to show you how we got the Moon Jeep, or excuse me, not Jeep, Dirt Cat. I'm gonna have to change the name of this rocket now. The Moon Dirt Cat Mark IV, and if you can see right here, it's actually a smaller payload. Only reaches to about halfway through this nose cone. The rest of it is this empty space. I'm gonna have to go back and redesign this rocket, but for now it works and it looks really nice. Yeah, see inside, that's how it connects, and you got this wide open canopy up there. So either I'm gonna have to figure out, maybe I can put a secondary Jeep, like flip it upside down and put it on top, maybe something of that nature, to try to, you know, use up some of that room that's up in there. But you have the 2 fuel tanks on the sides with their rockets, so you can land this thing on the moon, and the rockets are strong enough to actually lift it off the ground and take it up onto the roof of the VAB building, which is how I tape recorded that one scene where the Dirt Cat jumped off of the roof, and I say roof, whatever, and demonstrated the parachutes. So yeah, that is the rocket for the Dirt Cat. Awesome. Alright, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end the video right here, and I'm going to give you that little taste of the tank that a lot of people have been messaging me all over YouTube as well as Google Plus for. It's not the actual video, but I'll give you a little taste. Just a little taste. Also, Cruisin' AK, he's been making some videos lately that are really cool, especially how to make fireworks in KSP. His Happy New Year video is pretty awesome, you should check it out. Also, Heretic 391, he's got that sun base up and running, and it's growing larger every day. You should check out some of his videos as well. He's got some pretty cool designs, and I'd recommend you subscribe to both of their channels, blah blah blah, because there's some really neat stuff going on in there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year to you, and I hope you enjoyed. I am Vaos, signing off.